There is a green 2-burner camp stove sitting on the tailgate beside me right now with a propane bottle screwed into the side of it. I have cooked eggs on one just like it at 100 campgrounds between Oklahoma and Montana. But every fall, somewhere in this country, a family zips up a tent in the cold with one of these running inside it, and in the morning somebody does not wake up. It is not the flame that gets them, and it is not a spill. It is something coming off that burner with no color and no smell, and by the time it has hold of you, you are too sleepy to find the zipper. Now, something about that has always sat crooked with me. Our people out on the northern plains slept beside a live fire, inside a closed shelter, at 20 below all winter long for generations, and they woke up warm and breathing. Same fire, same cold, same shut door. So how could they do that? And you cannot run this little stove inside a nylon tent for 5 minutes. Stay with me to the end, because the answer is not the fire, and it is not the smoke hole in the roof either. It is one piece built into that shelter that almost nobody alive today has ever laid eyes on. And it does something to the air that a hole in the roof cannot do by itself. I'm Wes Kingfisher. I am 64 years old. I am of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother, Ada, in the hills of eastern Oklahoma, on the same few acres where I still live today. She taught me the plants and the kitchen. My grandfather and my uncles taught me the woods, the fire, and the water, and the reading of the land. And 40 years traveling Indian country, from the northern plains down to the desert southwest, taught me the rest. The old ones never wrote any of this down, so listen close. That gas needs air to burn, the same as you need air to breathe. Out under the open sky it gets all at once, zipped inside a tent or a truck cap or a little ice shack with the door pulled shut. It starts running short, and what comes off that flame turns into carbon monoxide. You cannot see it, and you cannot smell it. It does not make you cough the way wood smoke does, and that is the whole trouble with it. It just makes you warm and sleepy and slow, and then it takes you. Folks do it for the same reason anybody does a foolish thing in the cold. They are miserable. It is 38 degrees. The rain is coming in sideways, and there is a blue flame sitting 2 feet away. So they unzip the door a couple of inches, tell themselves that it's plenty of air, and light it. A couple of inches is not plenty. I want you to hear that plainly, because it is the one thing in this whole video that can cost somebody their life. The fire stays outside. The shelter is for you. Now, in about 20 minutes, I'm going to hand you the rest of it. 64 years of camping the way I was taught. And I will finish with that shelter answer I promised you. What I'm about to walk you through is one page out of a book I put together called The Native American Way, because the old ones never wrote this down and somebody had to. There are 101 of them in there. The backyard plants and exactly how the old ones used them, the teas and the salves out of my grandmother's kitchen, the wild foods and when to go gather them, putting food up for winter the old way, fire and water and shelter, and the recipes that carried my people through every hard winter there ever was, all of it written down plain, one at a time, step by step, so a person can actually do it. It is $17 right now, marked down from $47. $17 against one trip through the sporting goods store for knowledge that had 10,000 years of testing behind it before that store ever existed. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. Now, the first thing I would tell anybody heading out this weekend has nothing to do with gear. It is where you put your camp, and it is the decision people make in the biggest hurry. Walk the ground first, take 10 minutes and walk it before you drop the pack. Do not camp in the bottom of a draw or a hollow. Cold air is heavy and all night long it slides downhill and pools in the low ground. So the bottom of that pretty little hollow will run 10 degrees colder than the bench 30 feet above it. It is damper down there too, and damp steals more heat out of a person than cold does. Do not camp right down on the water either. I know it looks good, but that is where the mosquitoes live. That is where the damp sits. And if it rains hard up country while you sleep, that creek can come up on you in the dark without a sound of warning. Back off about 100 yards from the water. 100 yards and up on a bench. If the land gives you one, then look up. Look straight up over the spot where your head is going to lie. Dead limbs hanging in the oaks, and the hickories are what the old-timers called widow makers, and they come down in the night with no wind at all. Put your back to the weather, and if the ground allows it, set your door facing east. The old ones set the lodge door east for good reasons, and one of them is that the first sun of the morning comes in and warms you before you ever get up. The second thing decides whether you sleep or lie there shivering, and it is the one nearly everybody has backwards. Your bed comes before your fire. Cold ground pulls the heat out of a body many times faster than cold air ever will. You can have the finest sleeping bag ever sewn, and if you lay it straight on bare dirt in October, that dirt will drink your heat all night and hand you nothing back. So you build a bed, and you gather the makings before the light goes. Dry leaves work, and so does dry grass. Cedar or spruce tips work best of all, laid butt end down and shingled like roof shakes, so the springy tips carry your weight. The number to remember is 4 inches. You want 4 inches under you after it packs down. That means you pile close to a foot of loose material because it is going to flatten to about a third of that the minute you lie on it, 4 inches compressed. My grandmother Ada wove cattail mats, and the old people laid those over a pile of boughs and slept on that with a hide over the top. And they were dry and they were warm. Take your time with this part. There is no rush at all. Half an hour spent on your bed buys you a whole night of sleep, and a night of sleep buys you a good day tomorrow. The third thing my grandfather told me, I have never once found a reason to argue with. Build a small fire and sit close to it. A big roaring fire looks like a good time, but it drives you back 6 feet, so your face cooks while your back freezes, and it eats every stick of wood you gathered by midnight. Then you are up at 2 in the morning in the dark, hunting more. A small fire about the size of your 2 hands together, fed steady, will keep you warm all night sitting right up on it, and it will not clean out the woods around your camp. Then put something behind it. Stack a low wall of green logs or flat stones on the far side of the fire, opposite from where you're sitting. That wall catches the heat that would have gone off into the trees and pushes it back onto you and into the mouth of your shelter. Our people did that with everything from a stone face to a wall of piled brush, and it doubles what a little fire gives you. Clear your fire down to bare dirt, about 3 feet across before you strike anything, and never build one under a low resin-heavy bough hanging over your head. And I keep telling you, our people slept next to a live fire inside a closed shelter all winter. Hold that thought, because the why is coming, and it is worth the wait. Fourth, your fire tomorrow morning lives in what you picked up today. That is the old rule, and it is worth more than any tool in the pack. You gather tinder when you find it, not when you need it. When you're walking along and you see the good stuff, you take it and you put it somewhere dry, because it will be raining the day you need it. Fat wood is the first one. Find an old pine stump or the knot where a limb came off a dead pine and dig into the heart of it. That wood is soaked through with resin, orange and heavy, and it smells like turpentine when you shave it. It will take a flame soaking wet. Birch bark is the second one. Our people up in the North Woods roofed houses and built canoes out of it, and the papery outer bark carries its own oil, so it burns wet and it burns hot. The cattail head down at the pond is the third one. It catches a spark like nothing else on this earth, but it flashes off fast, so you use it only to catch. and you have your finer bark shavings and a nest of dry grass sitting right there, ready to take it up. And the oldest way of all is to carry fire with you. A chunk of punky wood or that hard shelf fungus off a dead birch will hold a live coal for hours inside a horn or a tube of bark. Yesterday's fire lights today's camp, and you never have to start from nothing. Fifth, water, and this one has two halves. Finding it and then not getting sick from it. Finding it is reading the land. Follow the green. Willow and cottonwood and sycamore do not grow where there is no water, so a green line running through dry country is a creek whether you can see it or not. Watch the game trails too. Deer trails run every direction across a hillside, but where several of them come together and all bend downhill, they are going where you're going. And listen at dusk, when the wind lies down and the birds come in. Now, this next part my uncles taught me. When you get to a creek that is muddy or slow, do not dip your pot straight in it. Walk about 6 feet back from the bank and dig a hole down about the length of your arm. Let it sit. It will fill up through the ground, brown at first. Bail it out and let it fill again. The second or the third fill will come in clear, because that ground is straining it for you. But hear me carefully, because this is where folks go wrong. That takes out the mud and the wigglers. It does not take out what makes you sick. Nothing takes that out but heat. So you boil it. Bring it up to a hard rolling boil and hold it there 1 full minute. 1 minute rolling. And if you're up high, above about 6,500 feet, make it 3 minutes instead of 1, because water boils cooler up there. Sixth, you can make rope out of a dead weed, and once a person can do that, he can build almost anything. Go out in a field in the fall or the winter after the first hard frost and look for dog bane or milkweed standing dead and brown. Snap one stalk off at the ground, roll it under your boot or crush it flat in your hands until the woody core cracks into pieces. Then peel those pieces of core away, and what is left lying in your hand is a ribbon of long silver fiber. Rub it between your palms to knock the chaff loose. Take a bundle of that fiber, twist it away from you, and lay it back over on itself, then twist and lay again. That is the reverse wrap, and it is how every people on this continent made cord before there was a store to buy it in. 2-ply, pulled tight, and it holds more than you would ever guess. One caution, and I say it every time. Dog bane is for rope. You do not eat it, and you do not brew it. It is fiber, not food. Up north, our people took the inner bark of the basswood, soaked it in a pond a couple of weeks until the layers came apart, and made cord and baskets and carrying bags out of it. An afternoon of that work gives you enough line to lash a whole shelter together, and it costs nothing but your hands. Seventh, if I could only hand one plant to somebody walking into the woods, it would be yarrow. Yarrow grows in old pastures and along roadsides and fields edges across most of this country. Look for a flat-topped cluster of small white flowers held up on a stem that is straight and solid and a little bit hairy. The leaf is the real tell. It is cut fine, over and over, like a soft green feather, and when you crush it between your fingers, it smells sharp and sweet and clean, the way medicine ought to smell. You get a shallow cut out in the woods. You crush a good handful of that leaf, and you press it right onto the cut and hold it there with a cloth. It helps the bleeding stop. Every people I have ever camped with, from these hills to the high plains, knew that plant and used it for exactly that. Now the part I will not skip, because this is where a teacher earns his keep. There are 2 plants out there with lacy leaves and white flower clusters that will kill a grown man, and they are poison hemlock and water hemlock. Learn them. Hemlock stems are smooth and hollow with purple blotches and streaks running up them. And the plant stands tall, often waist high or better, usually down in a wet ditch or a low soggy field. Crush it, and it smells rank and musty, never sweet. Yarrow is low, its stem is solid and hairy, its leaf is a feather, and it smells like medicine. If you're not certain, you do not pick. That is the rule, and it has kept me and mine safe for 64 years. Eighth, 2 more that are already growing where you are standing. The first is plantain, and I do not mean the banana. I mean the broad, flat leaf you have stepped over 1,000 times in the yard and along the footpath. Oval leaves in a low rosette, strong ribs running the length of them. And if you tear one slow, little strings pull out of the tear. A seed spike stands up out of the middle of it. You chew a leaf, and you put that green mash on a bee sting, or a mosquito bite, or a scrape, and you hold it there. That is the whole method, and it is the first plant I teach any child. The old people called plantain white man's footstep, because it came over with the settlements, and it turned up wherever the roads went. Our people looked at it, learned it, and used it anyway, and that is exactly how this knowledge has always worked. Good is good, no matter which way it came to you. The second one is willow, down along every creek bank in America. The old ones took the inner bark of the willow for aches and for fever, long before anybody in this world had a laboratory. Chemists went and looked at that bark, found what was inside it, and built aspirin out of what they found. My people had it first, they were right, and the modern world took its cue from them. One word said the way an elder says it once. Willow works the way aspirin works, so if you cannot take aspirin, do not take willow. And if you're on medications, have a word with your doctor before you add anything new. Remember what I told you about our people sleeping right beside a live fire all winter long? We are getting close to that. Ninth, what you carry to eat. Out on the plains, our people made the finest trail food anybody has ever made. And it needed no cooler, no can, and no stove. They call it wasna, which is the Lakota word for it. And it is better known today as pemmican. You start with lean meat. The old ones use buffalo and venison. You dry it hard until it snaps instead of bending. Then you pound it on a stone until it is a coarse powder. Then you render your fat down slow until it runs clear. And you pour that hot fat over the meat powder and work the two together. About half and half by weight. Half meat, half fat. If you have dried berries, chokecherry, or serviceberry, you pound those in as well. Press it into a cake and let it set up hard. It keeps for a reason, and the food on the store shelf does not. There is no water left in it. Nothing spoils without moisture, and that rendered fat seals up what is left. A cake like that will ride in a pouch through a whole hunting season without a lick of refrigeration, and a piece to the size of your fist will walk you all day. I still make it every fall out of venison, and I still carry it because 64 years on, nobody has come up with anything better. And everything on the shelf that claims to be better costs 8 times as much. 10th, and this one will change your camp cooking tonight. You do not cook on flames. You cook on coals. Flames are for light and for warmth. Coals are for food. Flame is uneven. It scorches one side and leaves the other raw, and it blackens everything it touches. Coals give you steady, even heat that a person can actually work with. So you let the fire burn down a while, then you rake a bed of coals off to one side with a stick, and you cook over that bed while the main fire keeps burning where it is. Your cast iron sits right down in it. The ash cake is the oldest bread there is. You mix cornmeal with water and a pinch of salt into a stiff dough. You pat it out flat, about a ½ inch thick. Then you lay it directly on clean coals that have gone gray, and you turn it once. The ash brushes right off, and what is underneath it is bread. And the old way to boil without a pot is to heat stones in the fire and drop them into water held in a hide or a tight basket. One warning on that, and it matters. Never take stones out of a creek bed, and never use a soft, porous rock. Water gets trapped inside them, and in the fire it turns to steam and blows them apart like a shell. Dry rock, off high ground, always. Then you waste nothing. Bones go in the pot for broth. Fat gets rendered and kept. Every fall, my grandmother made canuchi, which is hickory nut soup, out of nuts we picked up off the ground for free. And there was nothing left over when that woman was done. And that brings us to the part I promised you at the start. I have slept winters in a teepee up on the northern plains with friends of mine at 20 below, with a fire burning inside it a few feet from my head, and I slept fine and woke up fine. So what did our people know that the man in the nylon tent does not? Everybody guesses the smoke hole. That is the wrong answer. If a hole in the roof were all it took, you could cut one in your tent tonight and be safe, and you would not be. The real answer is the liner. Some call it the dew cloth. Inside the lodge, hung from the poles all the way around, there is a second wall, hide in the old days, canvas later on. It comes down from about head height, and it is staked or tucked at the ground, and it stands a few inches inside the outer cover. That gap is the whole thing. Those few inches between the inner wall and the outer wall are a chimney built out of the walls themselves. Cold air slips in under the bottom edge of the outer cover. It cannot get at you because the liner is standing in its way. So it goes up. It climbs that gap all the way around the lodge clear to the top, and it pours out the smoke hole. And on the way out, it grabs the smoke and the used air off the fire and carries them out with it. That is 3 problems solved with one piece of hide. There's a draft running up and out every second of the night, so nothing bad ever sits at the height of your face. There's fresh air coming in low and steady, so the fire and the people in there never run short. And the liner stops the cold from crossing the ground where you sleep, and it catches the wet running down the inside of the cover, so it drips into that channel instead of onto your bed. The old ones would pack dry grass in behind it too, and now you have insulation on top of everything else. Then there are the 2 smoke flaps up top, the ears, each one on its own pole, and a person goes outside and swings them with the wind, so the wind never comes back down that hole. The lodge itself leans steeper in the back where the weather comes from, with the door east. Our people did not get lucky with that. They engineered it out on open ground with hides and poles and not one written page anywhere in the world, and it breathes on purpose all night long. Your tent does the exact opposite. It is sealed tight at the ground on purpose to keep the bugs and the wind out. One wall, no gap, no channel, no draft, nothing moving at all. So what comes off that little burner has nowhere on this earth to go, and it stacks up quietly around your face while you sleep. That is the whole difference. It was in the walls the entire time. And that is the kind of thing my grandmother and the old ones handed me for free, sitting by a fire because somebody had to keep it moving down the line. There are 101 of them written out plain in the Native American way, so they do not die with me. $17, marked down from $47. $17 for what the elders of Indian country spent 10,000 years testing. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. 64 years, and it comes down to 4 things. Read the land before you drop your pack. Get yourself up off the cold ground. Keep your fire small and sit close to it, and let your shelter breathe. Tell me in the comments where your people are from, and if there is native blood in your family line, the way there is in so many American families. I'd be honored to hear the story. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you the shelter our people up in the North Woods built out of nothing but a hatchet and a hillside, no stove, and no sleeping bag that will hold a man's own heat all night long in the snow. Watto, my friends, that means thank you. Walk easy, and I'll see you down the trail.